welcome back to I Remember That podcast. Last time we talked about an overall collection of nostalgia and talked about things that we overall thought were nostalgic, and then stories that maybe you related to or things that you remember. This episode, I guess if this is the official episode 1, but we can call it episode 2 if historians later on are digging up the files. Episode 2, we're gonna do MySpace. It might not be nostalgic to everyone, but I know everyone knows that name. We're going to Chris and Ian we were molded in the lands of MySpace, so we got a lot to talk about here. Ian, you want to say hey? God, you're a scholar.
Thanks.
So I know that you had some quick MySpace facts that you had looked up. You want to give a couple so we can ice break this episode?
Yes. I searched a few things on MySpace, and it was kind of weird searching for MySpace facts because, like, I didn't even know what to search for. I searched for MySpace and for Tom because, those are like the big things. But like, I feel like we have so much experience in the MySpace space that like I feel like we already have knowledge. So I was like, okay, what's like on the macro level? Like what, I need to learn more about it. And so I looked up the big thing that I wanted to touch on was Tom, because, Tom was everyone's friend on MySpace, at least at the beginning, and until the edgy people like removed him as a friend. And then it was, I don't know, whatever year it was, I already forgot what year it was. He sold his share in MySpace, and like he sold it for $580 million. It
looks like it was sold in 2005.
2005, which was like at the height of it.
Yes, and
like that because he started in 2003.
That's king money, That's impressive. I think Rupert Murdoch, scary enough, was the one who took over MySpace. Oh, no wonder it went down. I don't know. Am I allowed to say that?
No, we're already going to get shut down. Episode 2, because Rupert Murdoch bought it and we're shut down.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because, like I said, it only lasted 2 years before he sold it for that much. And I think that he sold like a controlling interest and was still involved in some decision making for a bit. But it is crazy how quickly it fell apart. And I think that coincided with like the rise of Facebook. Mm-hmm. But Facebook's still around, and I assume maybe that's got something to do with like it's the original, so to speak, the original creator of Facebook still being involved, as opposed to like they took the idea of MySpace and like, oh, we'll make it better. And it's like, man, it was pretty damn good as it was. Mm-hmm. And once Tom left, it sucked more or less,
Yeah. Once he sold, I definitely lost its soul. And it's like they had gold in their hands, but they refused to believe it. They were like, nah, this is sand. And they threw it away. I will say my thoughts on MySpace and Facebook in 1 second. I want to give, I got a couple facts here about the money. So apparently in their highest year, 2008, they generated over $800 million in revenue, which is, to me, that sounds like a lot. Not quite $1 billion. I feel like Facebook probably stomps that now, especially with the AI stuff that they're getting involved in. At its peak, MySpace reached up to a value of $12 billion. They sold ad space, if you remember that, and rapidly declined after that because that's when Facebook started gaining popularity. And MySpace at one time was more visited than Google and Yahoo combined, which is, I don't believe that. But because, okay, first of all, think about why I don't believe that. Because every computer, they pay money so when you open up a web browser, Google is the first thing that pulls up. especially back then. Maybe not as much back then. It maybe it didn't hadn't started as much. But you got to think about that. So MySpace must have been pulling in some like serious traffic.
Right. I wonder if though it's like I don't know how they track that, but I wonder if it's in the realm of like, okay, Google is your homepage, right? It's like everybody's homepage, if not Yahoo.
Hmm.
And then, or back in the day, it's probably like Ask Jeeves. But
I love Ask Jeeves.
oh, dude, me too. That was my go-to
Yep.
until it fell apart, and then it became Google. But not became Google, but just Google became my search engine. But either way, it was like, you open your homepage, which is Google, and maybe you search for something, but not probably like half the time you're just leaving Google and going somewhere else. Maybe with MySpace, they're counting traffic as like, okay, every time you go into the bulletin board or you click on a message or you click on a picture or you click on someone's profile, it's like you're going to like you're doing 10 different page clicks in like
Yes.
the first 5 minutes you're on MySpace versus Google. You may not be using it at all unless you're like, hey, did Marilyn Manson get his rib removed?
Right. Yes, and you're on the right track. Exactly. You got to think about ad space too. Every time you click next or bulletin board, there's an ad. And anytime there's a new page, there's going to be a new ad. And then, so they're not only are they calculating the people who land on the homepage who have never before or have before, have accounts, don't have accounts, they have all that. But they're also keeping track of ads that have been viewed. So they're seeing these numbers or not, maybe not accurately, or that's not the word I'm thinking. They're just seeing these numbers, and it's just blowing their minds, and it's crazy. And could you imagine if something blew up that big and there wasn't ads, like they just like did it for free? I wish I could think of something like that.
The closest thing I can think of like that, and I actually say this probably once a year or more to my wife, is me and my daughter, we play Fortnite together.
Yes.
And
I've always
crazy
wondered
to
if
me.
you did.
Yeah, and Fortnite's fun, and the thing that blows my mind about it is as much fun as I have, as I probably go off and on. I'll play for like 2-3 months, and then I don't care about it for like a year, and then I'll get back into it because something new caught my attention. But it's like, how is that game still free? Because like there's games I've paid $70 for that I haven't put that many hours into,
Right.
and so I mean there are. It's not like ads. I mean, but there are, there's the collaborations with the artists, there's the musicians and everything, and people are buying skins, but like, there's no like ads on there, and it's like it's crazy to me how big Fortnite still is.
Well, it's two reasons. I actually looked this up. I was interested in it as well because they're kind of as big as Disney are getting there. So Epic are they make the Unreal Engine. So not every video game, but a lot of major video games use Unreal Engine to build their games. So they get royalties and money for that. So they got a huge stack of cash. Then Fortnite, say you play it and you're like, yeah, I've never paid a dime in that game. Haha, I played for years. Well, they're not worried about you. They're worried about the whales. Those little kids that can convince their, parents, or maybe old people that have money that are just buying everything. So as a gamer, I grew up during the time of, if you didn't buy the DLC map pack, it split the player base. I would much rather do this battle pass thing where they go after the whales, and then little old me can just, I can buy my Obi-Wan Kenobi skin and then be okay, So
Right.
I love this new generation of, people. There for a while, loot boxes were kind of annoying, but it didn't bother me. It's so much better than having to buy DLC, or if you don't like Destiny, you don't pay for this, expansion. They're taking away features. And
Yeah, no, I'm not to make the whole episode about Fortnite, obviously, but
Okay.
it is one of those things where like as I'm playing it, just a few tweaks. I mean, because some people do this in creative mode in some way, but Honestly, I wouldn't even mind playing a version, like, let's say they made a Dragon Ball Z game, like an open world ish game
Mhm.
with of Dragon Ball. Like, because the skin I bought, the only skin I've ever bought is Trunks from Dragon Ball Z because he's my favorite character. I would
Mhm.
love to do an anime nostalgia episode too,
Sure.
but Trunks, like, I as you're jumping off the battle bus and you're like flying down, like I feel like I'm like Trunks, like I'm flying down to the thing, and it's weird seeing him hold guns, but like it's still like, you could convert that because they have included weapons like the Kamehameha as like a usable
Mhm.
weapon in the game, and you could do something like that, like, and I would play like not even just that type of game, like the open world fighting, but like even the way it looks, like, because if you're making it, not just 100 people per match, dude, I would play that game, like, of just a game that looks like that cell shaded Trunks character. It sounds awesome to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that they incorporate the drawing style or animation style into those skins. I noticed it with Bender and Fry from Futurama when they added those in. I was like, that looks so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing about with the creative mode, you probably take some knowledge, but you can build your own game in there. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I think if your map gets really popular, you get paid. And it's like 12-year-old kids are making like 6 times as much money as me, it's like that's pretty cool. Tying back to MySpace, I see Roblox, like as little kids playing Roblox. It reminds me of MySpace in the community style where, I mean, we never had any chat features, I don't think. Maybe we had TeamSpeak, but that was for games. But on MySpace, it was really close knit. I remember when they added chat, the little chat bar at the bottom. That was like AIM, but it was tied in with MySpace. It was like a little bit more intuitive, because AIM was still cranking during MySpace times, if I remember correctly, which was a whole other.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a girl break up with me over AIM once. It was, so yeah, they're very active at the same time. I remember that.
Yeah, the struggle is real.
Yeah.
Well, so I want to ask, like, what was the most nostalgic feature you think was on MySpace? Like, what kept us going? And I think I know of one answer, but I want to see what you think.
The two things for me that really, well, I guess there's three things that really stood out to me, but the thing that I was most involved in, is I really loved the surveys on the bulletin board.
Yeah, I
Um,
remember.
I was constantly just like, there was somebody shared a survey and it was like just 50 questions about yourself or 50 questions about whatever. And I don't know, maybe I'm just like a narcissist, but I just love sharing information about myself to other people. I want people to know what my favorite anime is for some reason. And so
Hmm.
I was doing surveys like crazy back in the day.
Yeah, and that's funny because I was gonna say the bulletin boards too, but it was more for it was like I could remember when people realized, oh, we can share flyers here and people will show up to these shows. And I was
Yeah.
like, because I think about it now, it scares me to death thinking about even in the 90s, you had to put flyers up on poles and somehow somebody knew and they showed up and it's like that sounds scary or horrible. And
Yeah.
we that was just like the passing of the torch to like, oh, we can put these up on our bulletin board, and dude, so many people will see them for free. Like we don't that was way before Facebook Ad Manager and all that. So
Mm.
so like that's the one thing that I miss the most about MySpace. Other than there's so many other things, but the community and being able to connect with specific people that had the same interests and stuff. It was so I guess before MySpace there was Friendster, which I'd never heard of, and for music there was Pure Volume, which I tried, but that was like I didn't even make music then. I was just uploading whatever I could record or what, and it was bad. But so yeah, MySpace was kind of like the first of that post something on the internet and then people can share it or I guess Tumblr too. But That's what I remember the most. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, and the music, honestly, that was maybe the best. I don't know. I haven't been in a band in 10 plus years, so I can't speak to like Facebook and Instagram, but like there was that huge like broadcasting your band back in the day because you'd be friends with the band, and that felt cool. I was. And you could share music players and people could put your music onto their own page.
Yeah,
because that was one of the coolest things I think that I miss a lot about MySpace is whatever, however you got to it, whatever, whether it's a band's page or someone created a page where you could just put a song onto your profile and just like, this is the song I'm vibing with right now, or this song just matches my energy, and it was such a cool feature.
It was like a personality or a way to, it was like an identification digitally. And
right,
I guess before that we had like Zanga, if you even knew that name.
Oh yeah.
And you could make your website on there and stuff, so we had that sense of it. But that, maybe you could do music on Xanga, but MySpace, it was like built into the program almost, with the music player on the top. And it just got better and better. Yeah, I heard so much new music from that because it was like, where did we get music back then? iTunes and radio. It was heavily aggregated, I guess.
Yeah.
But on MySpace, it was like 16-year-old kids posting whatever they wanted. So you could hear "Crank That Soulja Boy" done by like a screamo kid, and
right,
or the new Kings of Leon song before they got huge because like somebody knew them, or and it traveled to your friend circle. Yeah, that was special.
It was, and it was cool too because I'm aware of a handful of bands at least that got obviously like huge bands that got a lot of notoriety. Because one thing I was reading about MySpace earlier was like My Chemical Romance, Kesha, and Katy Perry. Like they got really big because of MySpace. Like at least it helped them get bigger, but they were already, at least in some capacity, big. It helped them grow. But like there were some bands that were just like MySpace bands almost, like that they were big because they won like a battle of the bands, or they were trying to promote their music. And what is the name of that one band? Close Your Eyes. Yeah. I remember still to this day, like they added me as a friend, and I was like, who is, they're some band from Texas, I think. I was like, I have no idea who this is. And then I clicked on one of their songs and it became one of my favorite songs. And it was so good. And they ended up like, from doing that, just like adding, I guess they just went around and be like, hey, anybody who's got, some semblance of like emo or metal or something on their page, we're like, we're going to add them as a friend. And it worked. And they got good size. I mean, they're a decently sized band. Like I remember opening for them at some, like they were headlining some show in Cookeville we played once.
Yeah, I remember them just dropping off the face of the earth. Like I remember Mike liking them, and they were big in the circles. And then what's funny is I didn't really, I don't know what, I know they did like 2 CDs, maybe even just one. I can't remember exactly, but I listened to it a lot more in college than I did back then. When you guys were playing with them and stuff. The vocalist was just killer, and they just. I don't know I don't know, maybe you know more, but I thought that they were later than the MySpace times, but that makes complete sense that was when, they were initially cranking or gaining steam, I guess, because the MySpace stuff was so powerful.
Right. And I actually just, while you were talking, I actually was searching for Close Your Eyes. I assume they broke up, but at least on Apple Music, they had their last album came out in 2013. So they had 3 albums apparently, but I never listened to past that one with the robot on it, and it was good. I did enjoy them. And quick funny story about them is the day we were going to play with them, like my old band, we went to Guitar Center. I think I was buying sticks and Todd was buying strings or something stupid. And I remember going into the drum section at the Guitar Center in Knoxville. I see this guy, and he's got, how you could tell a guy was on tour. His hair was greasy. He had like one of the like a vest over a leather jacket, and he had a tour pass on his carabiners. I'm like, oh, this guy's on tour, and and so I talked to him. I was like, hey man, what band are you in? And he said Ender. I'm like, oh, no kidding. Like, that's a huge band. Like, that's a huge band. Like, that's really cool. So I got to, and kind of went our separate ways. And I go out and I told my band, like, hey, this guy's in Hinder. That's cool. And I pulled it up, a picture of the band, and that guy was not in any of the pictures of the band. I'm like, that guy lied to me. Oh. Like, this guy, why would you lie about being in Hinder? That's weird. So then I was like, I wonder, because, the guys from Close Your Eyes may be coming through here, and I pulled up Close Your Eyes, and there was a guy in their band that looked really similar. So I was like, oh my God, this is a guy from Close Your Eyes, not realizing that they're playing with us later tonight. So, and he was just fucking with me. So then I ended up going on Twitter, found the Close Your Eyes page, and I started talking shit to them. I was like, oh, that's so funny. And I was kind of like talking shit to the vocalist on Twitter. And then we saw them get into their van and drive off. And when we get to our show in Cookeville, like, it was like the show was about to start. The first band was about to play, and that van wasn't there. And I was like, and I didn't see that guy either. And so I'm like, oh no. And I ended up like finding the vocalist, and something, I don't remember how it clicked, but it turns out that guy didn't say he was in Hinder. He was in a band called Ender, like Ender.
Oh.
And so I just like went off the rails, just thinking that this guy's a piece of shit liar, and I ended up trying to call this band out, and turns out I was wrong. And
lesson learned.
Yeah, so I was just starting beef, and it was like the Close Your Eyes guy, like the vocalist. Me and Mike talked to him, and he was really cool. Like, he thought it was funny, but it was one of those things. I was like, damn, I really gotta fact check.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but people go to college to learn that, and you get that lesson for free.
Right? Who needs college? I ain't paying $20,000 a year.
I go to Guitar Center. Yeah,
yeah. I'll just get my ass beat at a Cookeville show.
Right. I wish I knew the venue. Do you remember?
It was the same one we went to when we were talking about the last episode about Norma Jean.
Oh. Yeah, it was like the skate park. Yeah. Yeah,
the skate park with Norma Jean and For the Fallen Dreams. It was that same venue.
Man, who was booking those shows? That's just so impressive.
I don't know. It was cool though. I liked playing in Cookeville.
I guarantee you we met him on MySpace.
Yeah, had to.
So, another MySpace thing that a lot of people remember is the top friends, which is like, that would absolutely not fly today. Like, people's egos would be smashed so fast. So, I can remember, the funniest thing I can remember about those is that when they extended it, you could pick like top 32. So
yeah.
By the end of it, you could probably put like your entire friends list on there just to make everybody feel fine.
I remember the top 8 being funny. Like, I remember having like an algorithm basically of like, this is, or an equation, like, this is how I know someone should be in my top 8. Mm-hmm. Like, I would,
that's smart.
Where like my 2 best friends from childhood, like the guys I've known my entire life, they were 1 and 2, period. It's like, I'm not going to move them out of there regardless of who I become close to, because they've earned that spot. And then like the next 2 were like, Mike and my friends in high school who you never met, but who I was close to. And then like the last 3 or 4, it was just like, people I was close to at the time, whatever. And especially and specifically people who had me in their top 8. It's like, okay, if I'm in your top 8, I'll return the favor and put you in my top 8, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't know why, like, I felt it was so like calculated for me. Like, I curated my top 8 in such a way. It feels so stupid to think back on it.
I know. And like I said, it would never happen or fly today. Like, people would just be like, oh, this is so awkward. But as a kid, it was like, it felt like a school thing almost, like everyone knows this already. I'm just putting it out publicly,
Right.
And then I remember when you can make it 1 and you just make it your band or your artist page, and then it was like, oh, I'm safe. Like, it's not awkward anymore. And then another awkward thing, and maybe not awkward, was scene names. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, yeah. I had one, but sometimes.
I can't remember
But
any of the ones I did. I'll say my buddy Corey probably had the coolest ones, but yeah,
Corey Pemberton.
he yeah, I mean, he had some pretty cool ones. But yeah, I remember people would make those their actual name or whatever for so long.
Yeah, I didn't. I had some a couple times, but my name sucks. I feel like your name actually would be similar in this same vein. Is that like, a lot of times they were, alliterative, right? So it was like,
Yeah,
if Mike Pfeiffer ever had one, he would want it to be like Mikey Massacre, right? But like
yeah,
our names suck because like, or my name specifically because Ian. It starts with like an E sound, but it's an I. So like I wanted it to start with an I, but it didn't sound like E. So it's like I hated that. Like I could never.
yeah.
It never felt right to me. Like I could probably even just use any vowel, but it just never felt right to me. And I feel like with Chris, it's like you could do that probably, but like since it's a K, it's a little different.
You're right.
You know?
Yeah, crazy like K, like crazy glue or something. So stupid. Another thing that we probably never ever experienced was like I mean, at one time had their own concerts and they would like live stream them and stuff. And I think this was like right before YouTube, but that YouTube was just trying to find its footing. And honestly, the first couple of things I can remember on YouTube via MySpace getting it shared on there was Killswitch Engage. There's this live concert. He has like a vampire cape on, the guitar player. And I remember watching that thing over and over and over. And it's like MySpace was probably the first place to share YouTube links. Maybe Tumblr. I never used Tumblr. But I remember you could embed those videos on your page, and then if you commented the link on the like underneath on the comments, I think that the video would show. I bet that made YouTube just triple dipple their viewer base and things like that.
I actually, one thing I read about, like when I was doing some fact searching before the episode, was MySpace actually did have like a competition issue with YouTube over that. Like they were like, we don't want to give them all of our traffic or whatever because the links can go back to YouTube, and so they banned it for a while. And I don't remember it saying how long it was banned, but it was they brought it back like pretty quickly because the users were pretty pissed off that you couldn't do that anymore.
Right, and secretly, it used to be worse, but now Facebook prioritizes their videos over YouTube links. So when you share the link, it will show up, but it won't push your post as hard on your friend's your friend's viewing feed or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I guess I get that. But I guess MySpace, they started doing videos, but it's so fuzzy now. I don't really remember as much. But I do remember them pushing their concerts pretty hard, and that may have been what led to all of that to begin with. Is they were like, we want the ad revenue off the video, not YouTube.
Right. It makes sense. It's funny that you say that too, bringing up the concerts and stuff, because part of me I was talking to my wife recently. Part of me feels like that is going to evolve, like not the MySpace portion, but just like concerts and live concerts and concert experiences, but not in person. I feel like is going to be like the next step, the evolution of the movie theater, because like the movie going experience, I feel like is just sucked so bad over the last few years, like maybe even since the pandemic, where it's like so many movies are just they come out on streaming same day, or it costs $50 just to go to the movies with snacks. And one thing I was talking to Katie about, I was like, what I feel like would make sense anyways, maybe it's not the next step, but what makes sense to me is like all the people who want to go the Eras tour, right? Like, let's say this, it costs $300 to go to that, like, or it's in like, say you live in Kansas and it's nowhere near you. Honestly, like I wouldn't blame artists at all for, live streaming that concert at movie theaters, and you can go enjoy it with a crowd of like-minded fans.
Mm-hmm.
And no, it's not the same thing as being there, but it's like the next best thing.
Yeah.
You're still getting somewhat of the experience, and what the only difference is you're not feeling Taylor Swift's sweat on you, like it's
Right.
I think that, like, and especially because it'd be way cheaper for the people, like say you're spending 30-40 bucks, which is way cheaper, but Taylor gets her revenue, the people get what they want, but
Mm-hmm.
without having to like even travel to freaking middle nowhere Kansas, you know?
Yeah.
So I
There's
mean,
uh, three things that made me think. You know, Fortnite, of course, they have those concerts. I see that as being the future. And the argument is for people my age is like, nah, I'm not gonna log into Fortnite for that. It doesn't matter about you anymore. It matters about your kids. Um,
mm,
and then second, movie theaters. You said they're going out. But what's funny is I've seen more and more concerts being, Taylor Swift is a good example. She played the Eras tour in concert or the
mm,
DVD or some kind of video. But I personally went and saw the Roger Waters concert at the movie theater. And and I thought that was kind of unique, like, yeah, I like going to the movies, but if movies suck and they're going to be expensive, I'm not going to take as much of a risk. But if you're gonna show Terminator 2 in 4K, that sounds great. I'll go see that, and I'll pay whatever you need me to pay. Uh, I forgot the third thing, but yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to. I lost track of what I was saying.
it's all good because your second point was so good that it didn't matter what the third thing was going to be, because I totally agree with you. Like, I think it's funny, like the movies that come out now, or that get re-released now. They re-released Avatar in theaters because
Mhm.
there are some movies that you do want to just see in that movie theater experience that you didn't get a chance to because you were too young or too poor, or
Right.
whatever back in the day, and so it is cool to see those. But yeah, like the movies coming out nowadays, like if it's not like a Marvel movie, like hell, even Disney movies, people are kind of crapping on right now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I mean, it
it's
is
too
what it
big of a
is.
risk, especially when I can see it on streaming in like 3 days. But as someone with ADHD, you see a movie at the movie theater, you got to pay attention to it. There's nothing else you can do. But you watch a movie at your house, and no matter what, there's going to be something that kind of pulls you away. So if you're, you know, the movie's got to be special for me to want to see a movie that expensively, so I can get that focus, that room, that black room that's focused and air conditioned.
Yeah, I think it's funny you say that, because I think that kind of can go back to MySpace in the sense that, like, the evolution of social media, I feel like, has ruined movies in a different sort of way, because social media didn't used to be all the shorts, the videos, the reels.
True.
Social media used to be actual interaction with people you knew, and I'm not shitting on the evolution of it being like international and interacting with people you've never met, but there is that element of, like, the attention span of society right now, just because of the evolution of social media, is fucked us so hard. And I feel like movies, like, I feel like I'm more excited about a movie trailer than a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that sucks. Like, I'll go in, like I'll watch the trailer for Captain America, whatever the new one's called, with the Falcon as Captain America, and the trailer was awesome and I had a good time watching it. And then, like, I'll go into the theater, and within the first 5 minutes it's like there's like a panning shot over a hill and showing Washington DC. I'm like, get to the action.
Yeah.
And it's like, God, it just sucks that, like, I'm more excited about a trailer than the actual movie. Like, I almost forget that the movie is the point,
Yeah.
and I feel like it is because of social media.
Yeah, and definitely the reels and the short videos. It's hard for me to say that movies will get shorter because I think that movies are getting longer. But what you said, the point about being more excited about the trailer. I think that started with these new batch of Star Wars movies.
Hmm.
Like that first, what's that movie called with Rey?
The
Um,
Force Awakens.
yes, Force Awakens. I can remember everyone just like it melted, the internet for a few weeks because everybody was sharing it and stuff. And yeah, and then everybody now is like, it's not that great. I don't remember sharing that and being excited. But even though
Right.
they were, but then it gets even crazier though if you bring up trailers like when this trailer for the George Lucas era, that first one, there was a movie. I can't remember what movie it was, but the whole reason it was a box office success is because they showed the trailer for Star Wars, and people would buy a ticket and then leave and then do it again. I, I,
Yeah, I remember that.
I can't remember the movie. I wish I knew, but um, so yeah, it's the evolution of social media and its effect on our attention span. I guess MySpace sadly started it, but it was more, yeah, like you said, it was more social, based on what your friends were doing. None of your friends were trying to be influencers. No one was
Hmm.
messaging you trying to sell shirts or sell makeup or things. Yeah, I feel like that kind of took off with Instagram, and I'm not knocking that at all. That it's a pretty sweet way to make a living. So,
Yeah.
um, but I didn't see too much of that on MySpace. Like, not even Avon. Like back in the day, our parents sold Avon and stuff. You didn't.
Yeah.
I don't remember that being any kind of evolution of that on MySpace. I don't remember anyone trying to sell anything that I knew.
Yeah, I don't remember that either. Really, I mean, like I said, there was the bands and the music artists that were just trying to get exposure, but otherwise, like, yeah, I don't remember a ton of selling. Like a ton of
The only person
ton
that
of
comes to
merchants on
mind
there.
is Jeffree Star. He's like cutting edge designs and pictures, and I don't know, probably the first person to use a DSLR camera to take promo pictures. Uh, love you, Eric Dill. Uh, yeah, he was a pioneer as well. But Jeffree Star switched over to selling products. I don't know exactly what makeup. I know makeup now. They were a pioneer and they used MySpace to kind of build their own platform. So I guess it was happening, but it wasn't everyone we knew was making a knife sharpening store or lawn mowing business on Facebook. Like, it wasn't on MySpace as much.
Right.
So MySpace in gaming, I did it really have an impact? This was way before Farmville. It was after RuneScape for me at least, and I did go to midnight releases and stuff, but I think that had to have been Facebook times. So I don't. Do you remember any gaming things going on MySpace?
No, and God, now that you mention it, like talking about movies and we're talking about
Like even
games and music
backgrounds.
and
I guess people used
you what?
Halo and stuff, but there wasn't many that I could remember.
Yeah, honestly, man, it's what's crazy to me is like my vivid memories of Facebook don't exist outside of just like my friend's space, which or music. Music was like the only thing, but like I don't even remember anything. Like I don't know what it is. Like I'm sure there was other elements, like you said, gaming or movies or
Hmm.
or merchandising, but it was like I don't remember any of that. It's just I just remember doing freaking surveys and chatting with people and posting on their not at their wall, whatever they call it, just posting on their comments. But
And
um,
then like the photos, I mean, you could keep a good amount of photos in those little, like where you could keep your profile picture. But then a lot of people use that photo bucket website,
mhm.
if they were like photographers, and then they would have their links that you could go click and look through like slideshow style. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was just like the bare bones of what we use now. And it was kind of fascinating that it all came together on one website.
I'll say that MySpace too. Actually, I would say it created a generation of coders because
I was gonna say that in the beginning.
yeah, like there was so much like that really big element of people wanting to customize their profiles. And then, we were going to like websites that had pre-made, pre-coded formatting, and so you would go in there and copy it, but then you'd have to go in and like you'd have to know some HTML or learn it, like whether and to like type in your own format your own about me section or anything. And like there were people who got really good at it. Like my wife even says that she had people asking her, or I think paying her, like to do the HTML. And like our generation, like that I'm sure that spawned a lot of coders.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and HTML was like the backbone of, I don't want to offend anyone, but like like Python and Java and all of that stuff derives from that original MySpace coding. And I completely agree. Uh, I'm just thinking of the backgrounds of like SpongeBob that looks like a gangster, and they're all diamond studded, and
yeah,
just all these cartoon characters, Bugs Bunny with guns and stuff. Those websites were like ridden with viruses, but it was cool that it was so customizable that if you like you did you did learn code, even if you copied and pasted that stuff, you kind of knew you could change font by going in and changing the numbers. But eventually, like like your wife, like I bet they got so good that you could make your own custom code, or it was completely custom. Like Jeffree Star, the pictures fit everything perfectly. It was like, not to be gross, but he was like throwing up cereal, and then the cereal went into the music player, and like little stuff like that. You could do that on there, and yeah, those skills probably translated very well, which is annoying because like we had so much free time to get good at that, and and now we're not doing it as a job.
Right. I spent way more time trying to hit on girls on MySpace than I was trying to learn anything productive.
That's true. And like you said about you, like bands could add other people. Man, I can remember sitting in Roane State Community College, the computer lab, and I can remember just between classes, you'd have like 2 hours, and most people would go home. I would just sit there and add, like all day, like 20,000 times. I wasted so much time just being silly, but it worked, like it was an easy way to get followers and build your community fast. And it was so unique to MySpace. I guess you could do that on Facebook too, but it doesn't feel the same.
Let me ask you, to add like a little bit of nostalgia, to make it a little bit more personal, give me like one of the cringiest experiences thinking back that you had on MySpace.
Man, I wish my oh goodness, I won't say
like something
names.
that yeah, I do have to say names, but like something that like you still think about. It's like hard to sleep some nights because you're like, oh, no, why did I say
one.
that?
A buddy of mine a friend of mine at school in high school had narcolepsy, and she was very big. And someone took a picture of her and then posted it on my wall, and I was just like, oh my gosh. So that still cringes me and keeps me awake at night. I guess you could say that. Sure, I felt that before. Yes. What about you? It better not be bad. I mean, we have to cut it out.
No, I'm trying to keep it PG-13, I guess, or and I'm not going to mention names. There was one quick one. Was there was a girl who I knew she had a crush on me, and I was like, kind of reciprocating, and we were kind of messaging. And we didn't talk, like we had a class together, but we didn't talk too much in person yet. And I remember she sent me a message, one time that she said, I love you, but you know how it is with text. Like, I didn't know if it was like, oh, I love, you're so funny, I love you, whatever. And so like, I didn't know what to say back. I was like, hey, I love you too, and like the cringiest part of it wasn't just that I said that, but you could see a message was read or unread, but she never responded to it. It just said forwarded.
Oh
So
no.
so she, I don't know, she like baited me into saying something like that, but it was funny because like she didn't respond to me saying that, but sent it to her friend, so that was embarrassing. But one that also stands out to me was there was a girl in high school who, I was a sophomore at the time, she was a sophomore at the time, and at least at Oak Ridge you couldn't go to the prom unless you were a junior, and at least, and she sent me a message. Again, I didn't know this girl. I had no idea who she was. She sent me a message that said, "Hey, would you want to go to prom with me?" And I wasn't interested in her or getting to know her really, so I just said, "I can't." And she said, "Why not?" And just because I felt pressed, I said, "I'm gay."
Hey, there you go.
And she was like, it was just such a weird interaction because then she's like, "Oh, I didn't know that." And I was like, "Yeah, this guy's my boyfriend, so I can't go to the prom with you." And she's like, "Well, can you just not be gay for one night?" It's like, what is this? So I was like, "No,
I got a David situation.
Yeah, I was like, "I'm sorry, I can't do this. I love my boyfriend too much. Go away."
Oh man.
And it ended up being funny because like not too long after that, like weeks or months after that, I was saying something about a girl I was seeing, and someone's like, "I thought you were gay with this guy." I was like, "No." Like it started going around that I was gay with this guy. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like I just, I tried to use that stupidly as a teenager excuse, and ended up being some whole thing.
Man, and this was during MySpace times, my cringy prom story. This girl was really excited to go to prom with me, and I was like, sweet. Like this, I really liked her, and it's, I guess, sophomore, junior year. But it was in Kingston, and I'd never driven there. So I just assumed it was like 2 hours away. So the day of prom, I said, I can't get out there. And I didn't realize how big of a situation this was. It's still to this day, like, from my standpoint, I was just trying to, I'm sorry, I didn't want to drive 2 hours. I didn't know, even though it was like 30 minutes away. So to this day, I still feel so bad. I stood this girl up because I'm an idiot. In my defense, this was before GPS. Okay, maybe MapQuest was still a thing, or it was a thing, but yeah, to this day, I'm like, oh, so bad. And I don't think she's ever forgiven me. Maybe, I don't know.
Probably not.
No, she shouldn't.
There was one time I was talking to this one girl, like we had met on MySpace, like I don't remember if I was just scouring the internet for hot babes, but I remember there was this girl who I thought she was attractive. She had some mutual MySpace friends, so we became friends, and we started like commenting on each other's pages, and she lived in like Gatlinburg or something, so not too far away. And I remember like there was she was one of those people who was like, she was responding pretty quickly to my comments. Like I said something, within a minute or two, she was responding, and it went back like a good 10 or 15 times. We were getting along. And then she said something, and I just remember saying, I remember quoting Superbad, and I said, "Well, the funny thing about my back is it's located on my cock."
Oh my God.
And I thought that was funny and witty at the time. And she didn't respond for like 15 minutes. I was like, oh no, I ruined it. I ruined the whole thing. And then I went and sent another comment. I was like, oh, sorry, that was my brother who said that.
Yeah, that's like the hopefully it works, but it never does.
But what was really annoying was then after, like not long after I said that, she goes, "Oh, it's okay. I thought it was funny." I was like, she was just busy. I'm like, damn it! Like you can never gauge that.
Striking out. And that's funny because to me, Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore came out 3 years ago. So every time I reference that, and then I'm like, oh yeah, everybody in this room's like 10 years younger than me. No one knows what I'm talking about. It's so painful. Even Napoleon Dynamite, sometimes I'm like, dang it, no one in here knows what this movie was humongous. I guess we've talked about everything there is to talk about with MySpace. I mean, not really, but we did kind of
Right.
do a good survey of MySpace and the history and the our relation to this website and how it changed our life and made us prepared for the future with coding and how sharing music is shared. Do you have any final thoughts for this episode, Ian?
Man, all I'll say is I wish we still had it, and I wish social media was still like the way it was. It's evolved into something to now. It makes me. I think I hate the internet now.
Yeah, yeah. I can definitely understand that. It seems like we're in a Sears catalog these days and not a another world. It feels like walking through Walmart sometimes.
Right.
But please join us for the next episode. I We will be recording very soon, and can't wait to hear from you. We're gonna have our social media and stuff up by probably the next episode, and you'll be able to follow along with us as well as our Discord and Facebook. Everybody, thanks for listening, and we hope you have a great day, and we hope you remember something.